Okay, so when we look at this, we see h cubed to the power of 5. Well, we know we can use the power rule because we have an exponent and another exponent right here. So when we use the power rule, it is h 3 times 5. Well, h 3 times 5 is going to give us 15, so it's h to the 15th power. Then we have k to the 6th power and negative squared all over k to the negative 3rd power into the negative 5th. Well, we know we're not using the power rule because there's no power on the outside. We know we're not using the product rule at the top right now because we look at it. Nope, no multiplication. So we know we have to use the quotient rule, because quotient stands for division. Quotient stands for division. So we know that we're going to use the quotient rule because we are dividing. Well, the quotient rule says I need to subtract.
We certainly hope that our 6th grade and subtract. First day of school. Teachers, if you could please have them gather the materials. They're going to go to their first block class. Now, if it's math or language arts that they have in the first block, they'll go back to the same teacher they had this morning.
They get left with.
They will go to their social studies teacher.
6.
They have social studies, they'll go to their science. So whatever class they
That's her. Negative and negative make a positive.
Have them bring their materials.
Negative and a negative make a positive.
And then set their
well, 6 plus 3 is going to equal
dividers on the desk. They're going to
9.
Spread it out, and they will spread
negative 2 plus 5 is going to equal a positive 3. And that's my final answer because I can't simplify this any further. That is the simplest it will get.
Kids, you will give those to your parents. Have your parents.
So then move on to this one. Well, I know that my base.
When they come to pick you up, we can see what grade you're in by color. We can see the names so we can call you.
An exponent.
When you come up front, students, you'll be coming up front.
Well, we see that my base is all the same, so I'm going to keep it as an 8. Well, since we're multiplying, we are going to use the product rule.
Everything is running smoothly. So
the product rule.
And we'll actually probably start to dismiss a couple minutes early. We'll get on the intercom for that. Thank you.
Well, 5 plus 0 plus negative 3. Well, 5 plus 0 is 5. 5 plus negative 3 is going to be a positive 2. 8 to the power of 8 squared. So this could be the answer, or it could be 64. It depends on what the question is going to ask you. Sometimes they want this one. Sometimes they want this one. So both are the correct answers. We look at this one. Well, we can't use the quotient rule. We can't use the product rule. We just need to look at it and simplify it. This is not in its simplest form, and I knew that it's not in its simplest form because I cannot have a negative exponent. I'm not allowed to have a negative exponent. So I could rewrite this. Well, 16 over 1 times a squared over 1 times b over 1, c negative 3 over 1. Well, like I said, I cannot have a negative exponent, so I need to flip this fraction, which is also called reciprocal. Well, I keep this the same because it's positive, this the same because it's positive, b the same because it's positive. Well, I have to flip this because it is negative and turn it into a positive. Well, when I flip all those things, 16 times a squared, 16a squared, times b, 16a squared times b, times 1 is 16a squared. One times 1 is 1. 1 times 1 is 1 times c is c cubed. And this is my final answer. This is my final answer. That's my final answer. So then I look at this one. Well, I can use my power rule. I want to use my power rule first because I see a power out here and a power out there. I want to get rid of those first. I want to get rid of these little powers hanging outside. Kind of like if we were going to do like, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Well, you want to get rid of those little exponents. So I'm going to use my power rule first. Well, 3, 1 times 5. That means I'm going to multiply my exponents. D, 2 times 5. G, 3 times 5. I want to put these -2 in parentheses so I don't mess up my answer. So -2, 1 times 3. D, 1 times 3. And G, 2 times 3. Well, I know that I can simplify this. 3, 1 times 5 is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times 5 is 15.
Please excuse the interruption.
1 times 3 is 3.
Check to see if you have any students who are
1 times 3 is 3.
or walking home. If you have any
6.
walkers.
So now I know that I can multiply my coefficient.
All the way home and not getting a ride, you can have them proceed to the main entrance at this time. Any walkers? Thank you.
And add my exponents. I want to add my exponents. 10 plus 3, 15 plus 6. I know if I put that into my calculator, I'm going to get 3 to the 5th power times parentheses -2 to the 3rd power. Well, I ended up getting -1, 9, 4, 4, d to the 13th power, g to the 21st power. That is my final answer. Okay, so now this is subtracting. I'm subtracting polynomials. So this is a little different. We know for subtracting polynomials, we want to just leave certain things as it is. So I want to leave this 9x cubed minus x as is. But I have this parenthesis sitting out here. So I want to go and distribute it. Well, negative times a positive x squared is going to give me a negative x squared. Then I'm going to go a negative times a positive 3 is going to give me a -3. Negative and a positive give you a negative. So you know that from your pizza face. You can also do your pizza face.
So we'll have those who are walkers there to walk and go home. At this time, teachers.
Now I want to look at it. Well, there is nothing that is in common that we can add together because this is a cube, this is to the 1st power, and this is to the 2nd power. So there's nothing that we can add together. But we can go ahead and correct this and write this in correct degree order. X squared minus x minus 3. And that's your final answer. We move on to this one. Well, I look at it, well, 12x squared, because there's nothing sitting outside of that parentheses, so I could just rewrite it. 3x minus 1. Well, this is like I said, it's like a -1 in front of this. Well, going to distribute this. -1 times 5 is going to give me a -5x squared. -1 times 6 is going to give me a -6x. And a -1 times 7 is going to give me a -7. Well, I'm looking for anything that may be in common. Anything that may be in common. Well, I see that this 12 x squared and this negative 5x are in common. Then I see this positive 3x and negative 6x are in common. And then I see this positive negative 1 and positive negative 7. Well, 12 minus 5 is going to give me 7 x squared or positive 7. So 12 minus 5 is going to give me a positive 7 x squared. 3 minus 6x is going to give me a negative 3x. Negative 1 minus 7 is going to give me a negative 8. This is already in degree order, so I don't have to change anything. It's complete.